he wasn't paid to be this guy that hits 360 and has these power numbers and is this ultimate leadoff hitter. That's what he kind of became over a 2-year period, but that's not why the Yankees acquired him.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias, and with me, as usual, as you can see right next to me, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian, how are we doing?
Stacey, a fun one today. A lot of interesting news coming out of camp.
Yeah. You know, this is the time of year where we have plenty of stuff to talk about. So thank you, spring training, for starting. And speaking of starting, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified when our videos go live. So today's show, we are going to tell you all about the ABS challenge system, which will be in spring training. We'll let you know what it means for the batters, the pitchers, and everyone else in the game. Jazz Chisholm is working out at second base. We'll talk about that. But first, LeMahieu spoke to the media because, as you know, third base is a hot button topic for the Yankees and for their fandom. And LeMahieu basically told everyone how he's been feeling the past few years with all these injuries.
Yeah, it feels like a new hotbed topic every day because every day another Yankees player has a full-on media session where we get a lot of news from them. It's like they're picking and choosing a different player to go after every single day. Lots of quotes from DJ. Seems very hopeful. He feels very healthy. Now we'll see how much that means. But he does seem genuinely very disappointed at the way that the last 2 years went for him. So I guess that's a good sign. He's got to be fairly motivated coming into the year.
Yeah, I think that, we spoke about the motivation factor last year. For him, it's different because he didn't really participate in the playoffs and he had to sit back and watch the team do what they did. So, there's motivation in different ways from different players coming into spring training.
Yeah, and especially for a player like him who his whole career, he's been a top tier hitter. He's been a focal point in every lineup that he's really been in his whole career. And now all of a sudden he's kind of become an afterthought. So that's a tough transition for a player to go through. And I mean, hey, LeMahieu could be the kind of player that out of nowhere, no one sees coming and just winds up playing or having a really good season. You don't know. The talent is still there. It's just if the health can hold up, if the body can hold up at this point. But we're going to see. I mean, he says that he had a very healthy offseason and he's looking forward to the season. So, I don't think a lot of people in Yankee universe really have a ton of faith in what LeMahieu can offer. But let's give him the shot.
Exactly. He said that he went through a physical reset in the offseason and that he hopes that unlocks a healthy and productive year. Because you do find that when players are older, if they train too hard during the winter, they tend to hurt themselves earlier, whether it's spring training or early in the season. And I think it's better as you get older to take some time to recover from the previous season, even if you sat out for the last month with an injury, and just let yourself heal completely and then start doing whatever you need to do to get ready for the season. I know he's been frustrating. It's been frustrating for him, and he's been frustrated with how everything's worked out for him. And it just seems like everything went downhill really after 2021, even though he was kind of on the downswing after 2021. But 2019 and 2020 were so good that it looked like he was going to be that type of player or close to that type of player for a longer time than he was. And it was disappointing because LeMahieu, I know we talk about 2019 inflating everyone's stats, because when you see certain guys' numbers from 2019, like even with Cody Bellinger, when you see his numbers from 2019, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And we always talk about Gleyber Torres, and you can say the same thing for LeMahieu. No one expected him to do what he did. And I think that he still can be an impact player, just not in the way that we saw him do it in 2019. I think he still has the bat. He's the type of guy who can hit the ball. He just has to stay on the field.
Yeah, and the thing is, expecting that out of that player is not realistic either. Remember, people forget LeMahieu was paid and acquired by the Yankees and free agency that year to be a utility player. he wasn't paid to be this guy that hits 360 and has these power numbers and is this ultimate leadoff hitter. That's what he kind of became over a 2-year period, but that's not why the Yankees acquired him.
Right.
The Yankees acquired him because they wanted this ultra utility guy that can move around in different positions and can serve a purpose in your lineup. So I think it's interesting to note that too. This could be more of the player they were looking to acquire. It does feel weird, though, that the last 2 years have been such an afterthought because, Stacey, it felt like the way that his game is, that the 6-year contract wouldn't be that big of a deal because his game would be able to translate into length into his career. And so far, it hasn't. Now, we'll be talking in a month or two, and who knows? We could be saying that this contract, hey, watch out for DJ LeMahieu, or this could be an awful contract. We're just going to have to see. This is going to be one of those, the Yankees let him play it out, and he's a nice player into his mid to late 30s, or this contract becomes an absolute albatross they're going to have to eat their way out of.
Right, which, that's happened to a few players in the past, unfortunately. LeMahieu said, I feel good right now, and I've got to find a way to keep it that way. He said he started swinging in January, so he gave himself a few months before he started swinging, which, again, I know we keep talking about like he's 36. He's old in baseball years. He's not old in regular people years, but as a hitter and as a baseball player, 36 is relatively old. So it's better that he doesn't ramp things up right away. Brian Cashman said he's going to be given an opportunity. He's healthy and he'll compete, and then we'll see where it plays out. It'll answer itself on its own.
He's right. He is. This issue is going to answer itself. They're either going to give it to one of the younger players, or they're going to go with the veteran and DJ, or they're going to address it at some point in May, June, July when they try and acquire a third baseman. They're going to figure it out by August. I just don't think the Yankees even know if they're. I don't think the Yankees know, and I don't think any of us know who their third baseman is on the first game of the postseason. I still don't think we know. So it is crazy to think about. Last year, DJ hit 204 with 2 homers and 26 RBIs. And the keynote there, like you mentioned earlier, he didn't make the playoff roster. He wasn't on the playoff roster. They kindly asked him to please sit this one out. That's a statement, and major leaguers, professionals like DJ LeMahieu who have done this for a long time, they feel that. So I do think there's a chance that he entered this offseason a little more motivated, maybe even more motivated than Judge, or hungry is the word we used.
Yeah. By the way, those 2 home runs were in that game against Philly where he hit the grand slam.
So weird.
Where he had that
majority of his RBIs.
Game. Yeah.
And then we were all like, is he going to turn it around? Is this the turn? Because it was right after the All-Star break or right before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And it did not turn.
It did not, no. LeMahieu said, for the majority of my career, I would pretty much play unless my leg was cut off. That was kind of my mindset. I didn't go in the training room. I kind of strapped it on every day and played. The last few years, it's just been bumps and bruises. I had the foot fracture in 22, stuff that I could kind of play through in the past. It escalates and compounds. So it's just been a bunch of different nagging injuries. And yeah, when you fracture your foot, it's kind of hard to play baseball.
Yeah, no. And again, he's right. When it stacks up like this, it's hard to be able to get back on your feet when it's injury after injury after injury. No pun intended, but to get back on your feet there. But you lose reps, you lose at bats, and you kind of start to tumble, and it starts to create this avalanche effect. And then, all of a sudden, one season's gone, and then another season's gone. So it has an effect on these guys. It's going to be tough, I think, at this age to be able to reset because, Stacey, he's one bad injury away from this just being over, it feels like. So he's got to stay healthy this year.
Right. He also said, I've definitely lost a lot of sleep. It's tough to be a guy the team can't rely on at times. I always take pride in that. So to not be able to do that, it's definitely frustrating. At the same time, I haven't lost my passion for helping this team, and that keeps me going.
Yeah. It's what you want to hear out of a player like this. Again, it's going to be about health this year for him. And I wonder, what's the number that you need to see him hitting in May or June to not go acquire another player? Because we are talking about DJ LeMahieu. Yeah, but if he's hitting 250 and Nolan Arenado's hitting 280, are you going after Nolan Arenado? And you got to remember too, going after Nolan Arenado kind of means you're cutting ties with LeMahieu.
Right.
It's a double fold, right? it means you're going to have to cut LeMahieu because there's not going to be playtime for him. So I don't know what the right move is here. You know, I think he's going to have to put up some pretty big numbers for the Yankees not to make a move, especially because I do believe that the closer we get to the trade deadline is the more available Nolan Arenado is going to become and the cheaper that he becomes because the Cardinals are going to want to move him. So if the price gets too good for the Yankees, unless DJ LeMahieu's killing it at third base, I have a hard time seeing them not make a move or a splash like Nolan Arenado.
Right. I would agree with that. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You get texts from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades and signings. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, and any sort of breaking news so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. Coming up, Jazz Chisholm is working out at second base, and we'll tell you what he's been doing so far. Next.
Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that help keep you feeling fuller for longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk doing work for the show or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. Remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. Those fans get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. The link is in our description. So, Stacey, it does feel like from news out of the camp that Jazz Chisholm is going to be the Yankees' full-time second baseman. Now, Cashman has reiterated that when he acquired Jazz last year, the plan was for him to be the full-time second baseman. Glaber kind of, threw a monkey wrench into all that. But, you're going to see him play his natural position. And so far, Jazz has been focusing a lot on second base because he's trying to develop a chemistry with him and Anthony Volpe on double play turns, all that kind of stuff. I got to say this. And I want to give Jazz Chisholm Jr. a tip of the cap for this one. He is one of the most superstar ego players that is such a team guy. It's not even funny. I mean, you have really seen that from all ends of Jazz Chisholm. He will hit wherever you want him to in the lineup. He will play wherever you want him to on the field. He is like one of the ultimate team guys that I've seen on this team in years, particularly. He will play whatever position you ask him to play. You got to like that out of a guy like Jazz Chisholm, especially a guy last year that didn't really have the right to say, I'm only playing second base, and Glaber Torres didn't really earn that right, sitting down and saying, I'm only playing second base. Whereas Jazz Chisholm will play wherever you ask him to play. He'll pitch if you ask him to. You gotta like that out of Jazz Chisholm. He's a very underrated team player, I'd say.
I would agree with that. And you do want to hear that from someone that, especially someone coming over the way he did and the way that he had no issue going to third and how good he looked at third. Like there were some mistakes and beginner mistakes because, footwork and stuff, like third is different than other positions. And, I don't fault him for that because it could have been an unmitigated disaster. And it wasn't. He made some really good plays. Like he made more really good plays than he made bad plays at third base.
Yeah, and second base is his natural position. So I think it'll be a little bit more of a smoother transition going into this year, seeing him play second base. But I agree with you. There was a lot of hesitation when he came over last year about him going to third base and what it's going to look like and stuff. And he, I think, proved every expectation and way beyond that for the way he played at third base last year. Plus, decent amount of power in his bat, has the ability to put together good, lengthy at-bats. Like, he is a professional ball player out there. And especially, the fact that he's willing to move around positions, which we've seen, Glaber Torres wasn't willing to do that. There's a lot of guys out there that I don't think are willing to do that. So, him willing to do that is great. And, Boone did leave it open too. And that's the funny part too. Boone said going into this offseason that he didn't know what they were going to be asking of Jazz Chisholm because they didn't know what the Yankees were going to do in the free agent market or the trade market. You know, the Yankees could have went out and got a high-priced second baseman in there. They would have had to ask Jazz to play third. They didn't know. And not a peep out of Jazz Chisholm. Not a peep. Didn't care as long as he's on the roster. That's a really commendable thing in today's society where you have, again, Gleyber Torres not willing to go over to third base or shortstop. You have Marcus Stroman. I'm only a starter. All these players that seem to, know their position, say their position, have no problem publicly acknowledging it's their position. And Jazz Chisholm's like, I just want to play, man. That's a great thing to hear out of one of your players.
Yeah. Speaking of Gleyber, I just want to post this for the YouTube watchers.
Oh, yeah, please.
Because
wow.
If you're not watching on YouTube, Gleyber has a full beard, not a goatee, a full, almost bushy beard.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like the kid that just got out of Catholic high school trying to prove to everybody that he can grow facial hair. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. 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 And then also, let's do this, even though this has nothing to do with this discussion, but I'd like to talk about how relaxed the players seem right now at spring training. They're having a lot of fun, and they gave Luke Weaver his own show. It's called Weave's World. It debuted on Wednesday on Instagram and I think on TikTok. So if you have either one of those social media apps on your phone, you can check them out. And during picture day, Luke Weaver and Clark Schmidt were told to hug each other. And this is what they did for that picture, which I think is hilarious. If you're not watching on YouTube, they are hugging each other, and Luke Weaver is doing that funny kick with your leg kind of thing that you would see in movies sometimes when people kiss, that leg lift kind of thing. That's what he's doing. So I just think that's funny. But I saw a very funny video of them. Dominguez was recording, Clark Schmidt was recording, like a bunch of them had cameras and they were going around interviewing their fellow players and taking pictures and doing all this really fun stuff. And I love that with the advent of social media, and especially now because it's so prevalent. 15 years ago, there was social media, but it wasn't the same. Now, everything has to do with social media, and you get to see these guys and their personalities. And I love that they're totally busting the Yankees are stiff stereotype by doing this stuff. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, let them grow beards now. But,
yes.
I agree with it. It's showing a little more personality, especially coming out of an organization that's kind of more or less known for being the stuffy organization that doesn't do this kind of stuff. You got to enjoy that. You've seen NFL teams do that with their kind of players. You've seen hockey teams, basketball teams try with the social media interaction to get players' personalities out there. It helps grow the sport. Mm-hmm. And when you see these guys have personalities and they're real people besides being just baseball players, it does help a little bit. So, I like this kind of stuff. I'm glad the Yankees are willing to do this. And, I'm surprised, too, the Yankees are willing to do this. And there was a sign off on this kind of stuff. Usually it feels like the Yankees are more the stuffy organization that's like no fun.
It really started, when was it, 10 years ago when Mark Teixeira had Foul Territory?
Yeah.
When he had that show where he acted like a goofy host who didn't know what he was doing. That really felt like the turn in the Yankees and how they started doing things. And, when they did their acting out the Sandlot scenes and the other
Goofy
skits
Yes
that
Network
they've
commercials.
done. Yeah, like the Brian McCann, the Brian McCann water commercial. Oh my God, that was so funny. Like it totally, got rid of that stereotype of them being, I'm not going to say, I can't say it.
Boring.
I can't say the word. Well, boring, but I was going to say tight rear ends, I guess. Right. I can't really say the other word, but
you're right. You're right. And it gets rid of their reputation, and they need to get rid of their reputation. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Jazz is right in there. He was doing picture day with this giant necklace around.
Like I saw the bling that's got to be what, a $50,000 necklace what he's wearing. It's all diamond encrusted. It's incredible. I don't get the whole chain movement in baseball that's been going on over the last few years. Some of these guys have these giant, it looks uncomfortable to wear those things.
Yeah, like I'd be afraid that it would knock me in my face or my teeth and knock something out.
Yeah, but these guys handle it pretty well. And geez, his Jazz is huge. It's massive. But he's having fun. It looks good. It's got to be worth more than my car. But Happy for him.
It's worth more than my life at the current moment. Yeah, it's great.
Good for him.
Coming up, we're in spring training, and that means that games are starting. The Yankees will be playing against the Rays on Friday. We'll tell you all about that. And we're also going to tell you about the ABS system, which will make its debut. We'll tell you what it means and how many teams are going to be affected by it during spring training. So yeah, we'll let you know about that next.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid out instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Stacey, I guess Yankee baseball is back. Now, I do have a question. They play the Rays in their first spring training game on Friday. Who's this considered a home game for?
The Yankees. During spring training, it's their stadium. And then
Okay.
during the regular season, the Yankees have to go to the visitors' clubhouse when they play the Rays.
I'm very interested to see how that's going to look. I mean, it's going to be a really weird experience.
Yeah, that what they did, because they renovated Steinbrenner Field and upgraded Steinbrenner Field's clubhouse and gym and everything else looks better than about 30% of Major League Baseball stadiums' clubhouses. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Rob Manfred actually commended the Yankees and said, like, great job that the Steinbrenners did. I guess this was an excuse to have to remodel their not remodel, but I guess give an insane upgrade to their minor league or training facilities down there. Is this a low point for baseball that they have two teams playing in minor league stadiums at the same time?
Yeah. It really is. And especially the way they did they could have played in Oakland more. They didn't have to go to Sacramento.
It's so bad. It's so pathetic, and it looks so bad. Also, they're going to be introducing the automatic balls and strike system, the ABS system, as it's also been known. This has been used before, though. I think it's the first time it's going to be used at the major league level, but it's been used in the minor leagues for a couple of years now. And we're going to go through the whole thing. But Stacey, at the end of this, really the answer that comes out to all this is going to be a thing in 2026. Whether people like it or not, that's what this is going to be.
Yeah. They're calling it the ABS challenge system because it's not going to be just the computer. They want to have it's a compromise, I guess, between full ABS, which would be balls and strikes being called by a computer the whole time. So they're going to have it where the ump calls them, but the computer also calls them.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that it worked out well in the minors, and I don't know. I almost feel like this might actually help the umps in a way. I think when the system kicks into gear full time in 2026, we're going to see that. Or no, it might not even help. It might help the umps call a better strike zone, because if the computer is doing the actual strike zone, because when we were kids, wasn't the strike zone letters to, like, you know what I mean? And when you see someone call a high strike, it's like at someone's waist. So will the system be the real actual strike zone?
Yeah, we'll see. I think again, it's gonna have to take a little updating too. They're gonna probably have to use some AI when it comes to this stuff too, because again, the strike zone's different for different guys that are different heights. You compare Judge to Altuve, and the strike zone's completely different. So that's gonna have to work out a little bit of difference too. But I'm happy. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm one of those sports fans that can't stand officials, because they just all seem to be so bad at their jobs. And, I get it. It's not an easy job, and human error is going to be a thing. I totally understand that. But this is in every sport, in college basketball, baseball, the NFL, where officiating is terrible. It genuinely, it ruins the game, because it does feel like in a lot of sports, and this happens in college basketball. You're going to see it in a month when you watch all the college basketball games, and you see it again in the NFL every single week, and you see it in baseball a lot too. For some reason, officials are either failed guys that tried to play the sport for a living and professionally and couldn't make it, or guys that were so in love with the sport they wanted to be a part of it any way they possibly could, and this is the route they chose, which is fine. But the stardom and the television and the cameras, for some reason, get to the officials. And they have this warped mindset that people are turning on the television and tuning to Fox, NBC, name your channel, to watch the officials. And that's not remotely what's ever happening. But the amount of calls that are made in big moments when officials, you see it in basketball, make a very animated call because it's a big moment, as if the moment has anything to do with them as the official. And then you see it in the NFL too, when a big call be made in a huge moment, as if the official had to involve himself in the play somehow, had to make it about himself. And you really see this with baseball. And it's been a problem for me for years, especially rooting for a team that has a very vocal manager when it comes to bad calls. The amount of officials who seem to, or umpires, I guess in baseball's terms, who seem to antagonize Boone and look to cause a problem with him. And they know Boone's a hothead, so they're going to respond to Boone a little quicker than usual. And they're going to respond a little snippier than Boone, because they like when Boone has a meltdown. Because when Boone has a meltdown and throws stuff on the field, the umpire has a meltdown and goes crazy and gets to throw him out. And then maybe he's on a highlight on SportsCenter that night. And it doesn't sound great to say, but Stacey, I'm sorry, it's been proven true over and over and over again, years after year after year after year. The umpires like to make the game about themselves sometimes, and it has as little to do with them as humanly possible. So to me, the more and more we can inch and remove them from the sport without totally having them out of the game. I don't think you can have a computer officiating the entire game, but the more we can get rid of the Angel Hernandezes of the sport and inch away more, because we've complained about it constantly with Angel Hernandez. You'll see it, and it's the truth, and there's no place for it in the game. When he doesn't like a particular manager or a particular batter or a particular pitcher, any way it goes, he will call strikes that are 6 feet off the plate just because. And same with balls. He'll call a ball that's in the dirt a strike because he don't like you. So that's the call he's giving you, as if it's Little League. And there's no room for that in the sport. We should never, ever turn on Locked On Yankees to record our show after a Yankee game and have the officiating as a topic. We shouldn't. And if this removes that from the topic of conversation, good. So I don't really have too big of a problem with it. Again, I'm not sitting here being Mr. 21st Century saying that robots should run the whole sport, but I do think the further the officials come from ruining the games, the better.
So quickly, this is what it means to have the ABS challenge system in spring training. Each team gets 2 challenges a game. The batter, pitcher, or catcher can challenge a call. A manager cannot. The player will tap his helmet or his cap to let the umpire know that he's challenging. The review will be showed on the big screen, and if a team wins, they retain their challenge. If they lose their challenge. There is no challenge in extra innings. And the reason that it's a hybrid and not full ABS is that the minor league testing system revealed a clear preference among fans, players, and managers and other personnel for the challenge system. And the reason, in so many words, is that fans and baseball people still want the human element of umpiring because it gives some sort of feel to the game. And it turns out that in minor league games featuring full ABS, where it was just the computer, walks were more prevalent, causing games to drag on and countering the improvements made in pace by the pitch clock. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So you can go on getting longer games again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't like, games were made 20 minutes longer. I think it was like, what did they say? Oh God, I saw the number and I forgot to copy it. It was something like 30 to 40 seconds and at bat, like longer. Like it wasn't that big a deal, but.
No, but we've seen from their studies that adds up to, an extra 10 minutes to a game.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. The pitch clock. It's amazing how this has become a conversation in other sports now. How the NBA is talking about shortening their games, and other sports talking about how to get more time. Major League Baseball caught a lot of flack for the pitch clock when it first came in, and they have nailed it when it comes to shortening games and making them a watchable time. I don't mind the shorter games at all, to be honest with you, at this point. I only mind it when I go to the game. Then it bothers me.
Two things that people were pissy about when they came about. I did not mean to do that. I love Apple. All right, well, two things that people were angry about when they were implemented. The netting at games.
Yeah.
Which within 5 minutes, you don't even see it. Your eyes adjust to the fact that there's a net in front of your face. It's perfectly fine. And the pitch clock. And no one mentions the pitch clock anymore. And no one did within about a month and a half of the season that they started using it. And then people realized, oh, wow, it's actually nice when a game ends at 9:30 instead of 10:30, 10:45 at night.
We love it from our perspective too. The only thing I gotta say is, again, it just bothers me when you go to a game because you don't feel like you get your money's worth.
That's true. Yeah, that was the thing I had the issue with, because you want to be at a game that's 3 hours. You want to spend time and be there and experience the whole thing. And when you get there and a game's over in 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours 15 minutes, it's like, why was I even here? What was the point of spending all this money to be here?
It's nice when you cover the team and you watch on 162, because some of them are done in a boom. And on those Sunday afternoon July games that start at 1 and the game's over by 3:15, and now I can go out to dinner, go in the pool, whatever I want to do. Those are wonderful. But I do feel for the fans that want to go to the games on a Friday night and the game is over by 9:15, and it's like, what do we do? The night's not even started. So I do feel for those fans a little bit.
Yeah. So the game on Friday is on Yes, and if you're out of market, it's on MLB Network. And then the next game that's televised is Sunday afternoon, also on Yes.
Yes, so enjoy it from the home of the Rays. I mean, Yankees.
Yeah. So thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor throughout spring training and the regular season. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Get your questions in for Fan Mail Friday. Leave them underneath the pinned comment below on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube and you want to ask a question, go to YouTube and ask a question, or join the Insiders Club. The link is in the description. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you tomorrow for Fan Mail Friday.